I'm watching my partner juggle balls in the air, literally. She's actually throwing 3 balls in the air and trying to catch them all without dropping a single one. She's counting out loud. 1, 2, 3. She's building some sort of rhythm so that she can make everything both fly and fall predictably all at the same time. As she gets the rhythm, she's also beginning to throw in another word. Softly, she tells herself. Softly. There's no point in her being tense and rigid. That won't help her here. Instead, she needs to have soft hands that leads to a certain dexterity, both physically and mentally. I can see it's a battle for her, though, this quest for going at it softly. She's physically tense, and there's a palpable frustration every time she fails. She hands the juggling balls to me. I immediately tense up. I throw the balls in the air, and predictably, it all comes crashing down. She bursts out laughing. She's been where I've been. You've got to relax more, she tells me. Soft hands and soft mind, that'll do it. Try softer, she says. I try it. She's got a point. I try softer and I find things coming easier. I still drop the balls, but at the very least, I've taken away that mental anguish that I get every time I fail. Am I even failing each time I drop the ball? Or am I simply just another step closer to being able to get all the balls in the air at the same time? When I throw the balls, I try to relax myself as well. I feel a softness in my hands, and with it, I sense that every time I throw the balls into the air, that they rise in a more manageable arch. This gives me a fraction more time to catch them. I still fail, but each time it gets easier. My partner's a much better juggler than me, but she's also learning. She's about a week or 2 ahead of me, but she's beginning to realize that the softly approach works better. I'm super lucky that she shares me this pearl of wisdom as I start my journey. Surely this can give me an advantage on my own learning journey. Juggling balls is a great analogy for our lives, our whole lives, not just our professional ones. We spend so much of our time with multiple balls in the air, and if we're super lucky, these balls hang in the air almost as if gravity is some sort of conspiracy theory. More often than not, we drop some. Try harder! Tends to be the call from the sidelines, but in reality, we're better doing just the opposite. Try softer. There's a lot to gain from this approach as a leader, but it's not just in the way that you approach the team that you lead. It's also just as relevant in the way that you lead yourself. So next time you've got many balls in the air, try to do it softly. You'll find it makes a huge difference. Hi everyone, it's my pleasure to bring you this leadership module. Today we're talking about trying softer, a compassionate approach to leadership. In this session we'll explore how shifting from relentless striving to mindful, compassionate leadership can transform not only your leadership style, but also your life. First of all, trying softer doesn't mean trying less. It doesn't even mean being namby-pamby soft in an old-fashioned sort of way. It means approaching leadership with more awareness, more kindness, and more humanity. It's about leading with compassion rather than perfectionism, balancing ambition with care and creating space for, sustainable growth. We've been taught, sometimes subtly, sometimes loudly, that the only way to succeed is to push harder. That if we just try more, just try a little bit more, grind more, hustle more, we'll finally make it. That this mindset can become a trap. When perfection becomes the goal, we start believing that anything less isn't good enough. We ignore our limits, we sacrifice our well-being, and slowly, without even realizing it, we start to measure our worth by how much we do, not by who we are. In the traditional model of leadership, pressure is constant. It's all about results, output, performance. There's little room for rest, reflection, or even real connection. And over time, this creates burnout, not just for the leader, but for the entire team. By contrast, trying softer offers a radical alternative. Instead of pushing ourselves to the edge, we pause, we notice, we treat ourselves with the same compassion that we'd offer a friend. And surprisingly, this doesn't make us weaker. It makes us wiser, more grounded, and more effective. Because the truth is, we don't lead better by ignoring our limits, we lead better by respecting them. Trying softer doesn't mean letting go of excellence, it means letting go of exhaustion as the only path to it. Traditional leadership often comes with the pressure to always push harder, to strive, to achieve, and to never stop. But this often leads to burnout, frustration, and, shallow success. Trying softer instead invites us to shift, embracing the self-compassion and acknowledging our limits and leading with emotional balance. Okay, let's talk about something that's overlooked in leadership, this thing called self-compassion. I've said it a couple of times already. It's easy to be kind to others, to encourage, support, and uplift them, but when it comes to ourselves, we can be our own harshest critics. We replay mistakes, we second guess our decisions, and we hold ourselves to impossible standards. And here's the truth, leadership is hard. It's full of tough calls, emotional ups and downs, and high expectations. And if we don't extend compassion inward, we eventually run out of it outward. Self-compassion doesn't mean making excuses. It means giving yourself permission to be human. It means recognizing that you're not perfect and you don't need to be. You're learning, evolving, and you're doing your best. Self-compassion isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It enables better decisions, greater emotional resilience, and forms the foundation of leadership that can actually last. It's really sustainable. When we're kind to ourselves, we show up more fully for others. It's about being more softer in your approach to how you not only handle others, but also in how you handle yourself. When we talk about strong teams, we often jump straight to strategy, productivity, or outcomes. But underneath every high-performing team is something much deeper. It's this thing called empathy. And this is a key element of Try Softer. Empathy isn't just about being nice. It's about truly understanding what others are experiencing. It's listening not to respond, but to connect. And when leaders lead with empathy, everything shifts. Firstly, it creates a psychological safety. Team members feel safe to speak up, to share ideas, to admit mistakes. They know they won't be shamed or shut down, and that sense of safety unlocks creativity. When people aren't wasting energy masking who they are or fearing failure, they're free to innovate. Empathy also builds trust. It says, I see you, I hear you, and you matter. And when people feel seen and valued, they show up more fully. They're more loyal, they're more engaged, more willing to go the extra mile, not because they have to, but because they want to. Empathy also strengthens performance. Research shows that supportive, emotionally intelligent workplaces consistently outperform those driven by fear or pressure. The culture you create directly impacts the results that you get. So when we say that empathy enhances team dynamics, we're not just talking about a fluffy extra, we're talking about, the very foundation of great leadership. It's how we turn groups of individuals into real teams. And it starts with us, the leaders. Trying softer means focusing on learning over perfection. We accept challenges, we embrace failure as feedback, and we model resilience. This mindset inspires teams to improve and to grow without fear of getting it wrong. We often confuse productivity with intensity, believing that if we're not working at full throttle, that we're going to fall behind. But true productivity isn't about going harder, it's about going smarter. Trying softer reminds us that constantly pushing ourselves and our teams to the limit is not only unsustainable, it's actually unkind. High output doesn't mean much if it leads to burnout. Instead, we prioritize balance. We make room for rest, reflection, and recovery. We value steady, thoughtful effort over frantic bursts of activity, and in doing so, we create space for long-term growth. Sustainable productivity is the kind that lasts, the kind that doesn't sacrifice health for results, the kind that lets people and organizations thrive. Trying softer leaders listen deeply. This is one of the most underrated skills in leadership. It's this ability to truly listen without interrupting, without jumping to fix something, just listening. Trying softer leaders tune into their teams and to themselves. They notice what's said and what's not said. They create space for real conversations. And when things shift, and they always do, these leaders adapt. Not every challenge needs a forceful solution. Sometimes the best move is just a gentle pivot, a new perspective, or simply asking, what do you need right now? And when we lead with listening and flexibility, we build trust. We signal that people's voices matter and that we're strong enough to bend without breaking. When leaders are willing to be vulnerable, they create space for authenticity. Trying softer shifts the spotlight from individual heroics to collective progress and builds trust by placing well-being at the center. This type of compassionate leadership starts with vulnerability. When leaders are willing to say, I don't have all the answers, they create space for authenticity and connection. Then, as said before, trying softer shifts the focus from individual perfection to collective progress. It says, hey, we're in this together and we've got this. By prioritizing well-being over constant productivity, leaders build trust. People don't just feel like cogs in a machine, they feel like humans in a community. And when compassion becomes the culture, not just a one-off gesture, people thrive. They bring their full selves to the work, and that's where the real impact begins. Okay, so we're almost there. It's one thing to believe in compassionate leadership, but how do we actually live it? Trying softer isn't just a mindset, it's a practice. First, you've got to set the example. Show your teams that slowing down isn't a weakness. Take breaks, model healthy boundaries. Let people see that rest is part of doing great work. Next, encourage well-being. Make it normal to talk about things like mental health, personal growth, and the need for downtime. When leaders value well-being, it gives everyone else the permission to do the same. Then, balance goals with compassion. Yep, we aim high, of course we do. We all want the best for everyone. But we do it in a way that allows for mistakes, for growth, and humanity. We create space for learning, not just performance. And finally, practice mindful decision-making. Instead of reacting in the heat of the moment, pause, breathe, ask yourself, what's really needed here? Often a slower, softer, more thoughtful approach leads to better results. Trying softer isn't about lowering your expectation, it's about raising sustainability. It's how we build leadership that lasts. And finally, one last thing. This is a great quote. Imagine actually experiencing tenderness towards who you are, not just tolerating or enduring your life, your family, your relationships, your body and your career, but truly finding ways to love and honor them. You know, we only have one go at this life, so it's important to make it a goodie. See you next time.